Hello there, and welcome back to the reading room. It is I, Mark Reed, and we are doing. It's Friday. We're doing Friday. We're just doing all of Friday. I like Fridays because Fridays I get to talk about absolute nonsense, and one of the great sources of nonsense out there is Ray Comfort. I don't know if you saw my earlier show, with the Fundamentalist Fail on Friday with Ray Comfort. This one's very, very similar, although it's got some notable exceptions, and part of it is hilariously funny because Ray is, of course, a bit of a joke of the internet, but he doesn't. I cannot figure out whether this man is dishonest or like incredibly dishonest or incredibly stupid or both. Like, let's face it, they're not mutually exclusive. Ray can, of course, be both incredibly stupid and incredibly deceptive at the same time. But he goes through a certain thing, and even the thumbnail was was sort of very similar with the chilling on the thumbnail, and I sort of cut that out and sort of put it at the front of mine because yeah, it's sort of he brands himself to a certain type of Christian that's sort of always on the lookout for demons and always on the lookout for these people who are possessed and always on the lookout for people that you know are different, the other, and I really want to get across just how dangerous this idea is, that anything that is other is evil and somehow a evil force in this world kind of thing, which he sort of does promote, definitely does promote it. So um, I'm gonna grab the video, but I'm sorry, I've been a bit busy and I've felt a bit unwell over the last few days. So I do apologize I haven't been on as much as possible, but I do have a lot coming up. And actually, Jess is in the chat, who I will be moderating a debate with. Oh, hi, Robin. How you doing? And a big shout out to Dave as well out there. It's so good to see you, Dave. Um, Actually, I haven't talked with Dave for a while. Um, yeah, which I hopefully, and with Jess's help, we're going to be moderating a debate together. She's going to be sort of taking the reins, and I'm going to be co-moderating and supporting her in sort of doing this debate, which is something that I'd love to do. I want to have more debates. I want to see debates everywhere, and I think it should be fantastic. So I'm so excited for that coming up. So if you do like more debates, and I've got to pin down some down. I am talking with somebody about having them on, but we'll see how it goes. I think a lot of people don't want to debate me for some reason, and maybe I'm a victim of my own success. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, that sounds very egotistical to say as I say it, but I used to sort of get offered debates a lot, and I'm not offered them anymore. But maybe I've got to be more forceful. I've talked about this before. But yeah, this is I can't remember his name. He's just your average guy kind of thing. But we'll start to go through and see what Ray has to say about it. Slow down, moderate and moderation. Nice, nice. I like it. I like it. Look, everything in moderation, including moderation. Absolutely. You're more right there. I mean, it sounds like a joke, but it's actually good advice. So yeah.
This man's name is Kevin.
Oh, it's Kevin. Of course it's Kevin. Yeah, Kev. Yeah, Kev. Good on you, mate. Yeah, I don't know about this. And so first off, listen. Like, one thing I've noticed about Ray's clips, his first thing to do is listen to the music, because it'll tell you everything about how he's trying to make you feel. And that's not to say that music can't be used in certain contexts, but I think that when you're like, if you're doing a horror film or something, sort of this sort of, you know, violin strings can be very, very effective in making people feel a certain way. But if you're doing a man on the street documentary, I've got an issue with the way that people use music to elicit certain emotional responses from people. Don't get me wrong, I've got no problem at all with the music being used in other contexts, but we're talking about a person that is trying to make his audience afraid. And we can tell that by the way that he puts chilling on the title, and he has these sort of these things that he is using to honestly try to amp up the fear in people. And this is my big problem with Ray Comfort. Whether like, because before, as I said, I don't know whether he's incredibly dishonest or he is incredibly stupid or both. But even if he is, what he is doing is terrible. Because don't forget, these videos, they tons of people watch them. Like, it's part of me goes, oh, it's funny, it's hilarious, but at the end of the day, like, there's a ton of people watching them, and it's sort of like, do they agree with them? Do they do they pay attention to them? I believe that in some way people do listen to him, which is horrifying. Um, And, I was having a conversation with Jess and sort of like, we can't believe people listen to this man, but they do. That's the thing. And another one I'll use an example is Hovind. I can't believe that people listen to Hovind, but we meet them and they do, which is just incredible because I mean this has 647,000 views. Like, so three quarters of a million or two-thirds of a million people saw this. Like, what I why why
You'll hear me call him by that name a number of times, but during the interview, you'll also hear another personality take him over. In one of the many incidents,
another personality take them over. I don't know where he gets this idea from. Like, if somebody just changes their attitude towards him, he goes, well, that's another person taking them over. That's its entirely separate person. How did you determine that, Ray? I don't know how he determined that, and whether it was just, the guy just changed his attitude. I don't. It's really weird. I mean, Ray's a real weirdo. He kind of, and you'll see that by the end of it. What he thinks is supernatural is insanely mundane, and like, you'll see that by the end of it. I'm not just sort of saying that outright. You'll definitely see that by the end of it.
any incidents of demonic possession in the Bible, Jesus spoke directly to a demon and demanded it to give him its name. The answer came back, Legion, because there were so many. Kevin, what's your t-shirt say?
I got your back. It's kind of analogous to not being able to be there, not catching you. The guy falls back down on a fall.
Looks like death to me.
Okay, so
not catching you.
Notice first off that transition. I mean, he didn't even cut it. Like, so this is just a joke, a humorous shirt, right? This is the depths that Ray falls into, and this is the depths that he kind of sinks into, and gets wrapped up in. The guy's got a joke shirt, right? It's just a joke shirt. It's just, I got your back, and it's a skeleton with a spine. No, not to Ray. That's death and a signal of demonic forces. I'm not even joking. But watch the cut real quickly. Like, there's a transition cut in here.
What's your t-shirt say?
I got your back. It's kind of analogous to not being able.
It's analogous to fade cut. He didn't even use a snap. He uses a fade.
Would be there, not catching you. The guy falls back down on a fall.
Looks like death to me.
No.
Kevin, do you think there's life after death?
I do.
Heaven and hell?
No. We become light beings. I mean, you're going to take your body with you with all the arthritis.
I think they come back in certain.
Yeah, so he doesn't believe in, take a bodily resurrection. And you'll see why. And these women are Catholics, I believe, who, to be honest with you, I mean, they're Catholics, but Ray's a real fundamentalist evangelical. He probably doesn't think they're real Christians. I don't want to straw man the guy, but probably not, because I'm familiar with Ray's sort of type and shtick. And Ray isn't, he's really fundamentalist evangelical.
Back in certain forms,
What sort of forms?
like maybe a butterfly.
But if you make it, and it's hard to make, you might go through several lives, several vessels until finally you make it.
Is this Hinduism? Buddhism?
It is.
Like
Butterfly can only last a
Buddhism.
few days and a cat's going to eat you.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about it like that.
Just more of
Then they
Buddhism,
come
right?
back in another butterfly.
Oh, well, how are you doing when it comes to earning everlasting life?
Meditation and yoga
What does that do?
brings you in tune. You got to get down with it. I'm serious. Anybody.
Do you ever read the Bible?
Yeah, so basically he's talking to a Buddhist, right? So when he said, why would you want to come back with a body that has arthritis and all of this kind of stuff? There was a reason. It's because he was basically saying, hey, I believe in Buddhism, which is reincarnation, meditation and achievement of nirvana, which is sort of the perfect ideal of where you go in Buddhism. That you're working towards this perfect life, which I don't believe in, but so Ray's come into the conversation, what's happening there? Like a real boomer for a start, like a real boomer, and he sort of said, "Oh, well, that's death on your shirt," when it's just a joke shirt, and then he's sort of saying, oh, what does this do for you? What does that do for you? He's really being belligerent right off the bat. Like, not belligerent as in, yelling at the guy or being insulting or whatever, but very, very dismissive of his beliefs. And this is a thing that Ray does often. He'll meet these people on the street. He'll be incredibly dismissive of them, while almost forcing them, like really, really forcing them to respect, like listen to his own beliefs, like this kind of, oh, well, this is what's going to happen to you after you die. And it's very, very off-putting, very irritating. I think that, Ray is, he's a prick, basically. He could annoy for his country. And this becomes very important later. Like, I've seen people like Matt Delahunty interact with him, and he's very annoying. He's very, very annoying in the way that he tells people what they think and sort of says, oh, no, that there's a God kind of thing. Like the really sort of pre-sup kind of stuff.
Bible.
I'm Catholic, so yes, I should.
But you don't.
I have a Bible, but yeah, no.
In the Old Testament, God promised he would destroy death. And in the New Testament, we're told how he did it. Did you know that?
Yeah, so this is Ray shtick. It's the loaded question. So in the Old Testament, and this is the question that he asks, and just examine this for a second. In the Old Testament, we were told that God would destroy death, and in the New Testament, we showed how he did it. Are you aware of that? That's a loaded question. It's the same as saying, when did you stop kicking your dog? Or the earth is flat. Are you aware of that? Because there's no way to answer that question simply. And that's where the presups, and this is sort of the mainstream presuppositionalist, which I do have to have a discussion about presups, because they're raising their ugly heads again and being as obnoxious as usual. And so we've got to talk about presups and the sort of the things that they do that really, they're just dodgy. Let's face it, they're just dishonest tactics. And one of those tactics is the loaded question, where they'll go to just answer yes or no to this kind of question. So they'll set it up as, God's the all created the universe. Are you aware of that? And when you say that's not where I think the universe, they'll say no, just answer yes or no. Like it's really just it's a playground tactic. But you'll see these kind of sort of dishonest debate tactics scattered all throughout Ray's stuff. He's very, very and he's been doing this for years, and it's been pointed out to him multiple times, which leads me to believe that he is actually pretty damn dishonest, really, because this has been pointed out to Ray again and again, but he doesn't change what he does, especially this guy on the street stuff. he learned enough not to try this on, people like Matt Delahunty and people like, Alex O'Connor and the really people that know what they're talking about. But he'll still do this to people on the street.
Did you know that?
No.
Well, let me share the gospel with you and see what you think. How many lies have you told in your life?
I'm renewed 2 years ago. I'm clean. I have none.
What does that mean? You're
Okay, so the irony here, the massive irony, is that Ray's currently being dishonest in the way that he's approaching this. He's sort of this thing of, well, if you've told a lie, then you are a liar. Like, if you've committed a sin, then you are a sinner. It's a fallacy called black and white thinking. It's kind of being overly simplistic about things. So the fact that we don't say that a liar is someone who's told a lie ever in their life. A liar is somebody whose behavior tends towards telling lies more than normal. It's sort of like, well, if you've told the truth, does that make you a truth teller? If you've lied all your life and told the truth once, does that make you a truth teller? No, it doesn't. It's this very, 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 very simplistic stuff. Oh, hello, Skywatcher. I haven't seen you for ages. I'm well. I'm doing fantastic. I've been busy as well, so I apologize for not being on more. But we'll remedy that. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's all good. All good. So the hypocrisy of this is that while Ray's sitting there going, have you told a lie? Have you done this? Have you done that? He's being deceptive in the way that he's carrying out these interviews. He's using manipulative tactics. And I think that, he might say, hey, but I'm not actually lying. Yeah, but you're still being deceptive. We've already seen one cut where he's cut off what the guy was saying and then put something on the end of it. So he just goes into this sort of thing that he might not have been saying because Ray cut it. So the irony here is that Ray is the one sort of lying or being deceptive in this case. Now, this gentleman whose name is Kevin, he says, no, like I'm clean for some reason. Don't know what that's about. Not sure what that's about, but
that mean you're renewed,
born again.
Ever stolen something?
Yeah, born again. Okay, so he's not a Christian; he's a Buddhist, but he says, born again. Oh yeah, it blows me away too. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm shocked and appalled. Never seen that before.
Sure.
Have you ever used God's name in vain?
Lots of times, yeah.
And you too?
Yeah.
Do you love your mum?
Very much.
And this thing of, have you used God's name in vain? Yes. Do you love your mum? He has done this time after time after time after time. This is his go-to thing. It is almost sort of broken record-ish. It is so he always says it. And then he'll go to, would you use your mum's name as a curse word? And it's like, dude, I don't think that the God exists. So, but I think that my mum existed. Like, why would I care about somebody I don't think exists? Like, it's really, really weird.
Very much.
Would you ever use her name as a cuss word?
No.
No, because you respect her. Right. But you've taken the name of the God who gave you a mother and used it as a cuss word.
I'm born again, man.
Yeah, I don't care. I really don't care. I don't think the God exists. And if the God has a problem with me using their name as a cuss word, then come and tell me. Don't use some New Zealand twerp on the street with a microphone to tell me. Like, just come and tell me. Like, seriously. Why do we need you roaming around doing it? And you might say, oh, well, it's in the Bible. Who cares? It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. You might as well say, hey, well, Santa says not to curse by his name. Well, I don't care. but he's trying to make his audience feel guilty. That's the second thing that he's trying to achieve. He's trying to say, hey, you're guilty. You've done bad things. You need forgiveness. You need to watch my videos. He guilt people into paying attention, and that's the other thing that he's doing. It's if you think more horror film for the Christian and less documentary, you'll probably be more accurate to what Ray Comfort is actually doing.
What does born again mean?
What does born again mean? Yeah, so he's not a Christian, he's a Buddhist. So what does born again mean? Right? So I think Ray's getting a bit shirty that he's being like, oh, he's taken something from my religion. And you'll see this thing. You'll see this. Like, Christianity borrows from tons of different religions. It just takes wholesale and meshes them in, kind of thing. But when somebody takes something from Christianity, these people go crazy. They go nuts. Oh, you stole Christmas. It's a war on Christmas. It's you're perverting the Christian thing. You're doing this Christian. Who cares? Who cares? No one cares. It's very, very strange. Very strange. But Ray Comfort is very strange and a very, very weird little guy.
All my sins, and I got a clean slate.
And so the practice of Om allows you to lift all of those stories, all of those, the ink from all of those pages, and gaze at it. And it gives you the opportunity to either rewrite or erase those experiences, to move through them so that they're now denatured.
Who gave you a clean?
Okay, so he even so now he's going to Buddhism, right? So he's attacking Buddhism. So he gets somebody on that's saying, hey, the Om or the mantra that's used in normal Buddhist meditation is a way to, well, as far as I understand it, and I'm no expert, this is just what I think is the case, is that generally you are trying to just disassociate from, or not really disassociate, but just remove yourself from the physical world, like become sort of less, in sort of entwined with the physical world. It's there to just focus on something else and let your mind sort of be lifted above material concerns. That's it. Like, that's it. There's certain things in psychology, like mindfulness, where you are generally doing that. You are being focused on, instead of the internal thoughts, you're basically letting them just run by you, kind of thing. And I think it's about similar, and it just helps people by having something to sort of focus on that becomes meaningless, and so you're clearing your mind. That's all it is. It's not what Ray thinks it is.
Who gave you a clean slate?
The man. Om.
That was the Om. Om is a building block for many other mantras.
Sure. A mantra is just a phrase or word that's repeated, so it becomes meaningless, and you disconnect from the physical world around you. That's all it is. It's not like, it's just a word. Notice the music, like, hear the music. It's all like dun dun dun. And this is the thing, like, he's not even talking about Satanism or rituals or Wiccan rituals, which is usually, like, I mean, I don't care about them. It's just, that's usually what the Christians get all bent out of shape about. This is about, like, mantras in Buddhism. It's just meditation. It's not the thing that you think it is. Like, come on now.
Om is a mantra. That which helps you transcend the mind
Yes.
is a mantra.
Yoga teachers won't tell those who are new to the practice of chanting mantras, but the mantras are a prayer to spiritual deities.
No, they're not. They're really not. Like, they're not. They're not prayers to spiritual deities. No. A mantra is just something that's repeated. That's all. It's just a meditative technique. The they won't tell newcomers that it's a prayer. Like, they don't tell them that because that's not what it is. There's prayers in Buddhism, sure, but that's not what a mantra is for. It's very weird.
What the Bible calls false gods or demons. The Encyclopedia of New Age Beliefs says many mantras are held to have originated as a supernatural revelation from the gods or spirits.
Encyclopedia of New Age Beliefs. Yeah, not sure about that one, Chiefs. Yeah, I think I think that they sort of have tied in to spiritual beliefs, but I'm not sure about that one.
Spirits with which they were associated.
Chant her mantra ideally 21 times or 108 times, visualizing her as an energetic, black form of Tara.
Listen to the self-professed witch talk about enlightening yourself through conjuring up demons by chanting mantras.
Conjuring demons by chanting mantras, and this is where it gets wild. This is where it gets wild. I went down a rabbit hole on this one again because this is where it gets hilarious.
During meditation. The title of her video is Mantra Chant, Demonic Yoga Meditation to Summon, and then she gives the name of the demon.
Yes, demonic yoga meditation. Yes, that's right, demonic yoga. Yes, I never knew demonic yoga existed, and look, for one, I'm on board. Like, bring on the demonic yoga. I'm there. Demon yoga. Yes. I I've done yoga. I have never done demonic yoga meditation. Look, yoga isn't even the same as meditation. You don't generally use mantras in yoga, but you do focus on your breathing. Like, you try to feel breathing going through. You try to feel all of the muscles working and all of the the muscles stretching, and you try to focus on your body, get outside of your head and focus on your body. It's not the same as meditation, but I can understand why people would say, hey, there's sort of a meditative quality to it. Demonic yoga meditation, yeah.
The demon.
Satan wants us to help liberate people to the powers of spirituality, the forces that are all around us, to enlighten people to the powers that we each have. If you are a dedicated person who is very serious about learning witchcraft to conjure spirits, demons, and to take your spirituality to the next level, then please go.
Listen to the...
Yeah. So I don't know why. No, wait. No, scratch that. I know why Ray has found a YouTuber by the name of Cyberwitch in order to give an explanation of what using mantras in meditation and yoga is. Like, this is just some YouTuber. This isn't sort of, the Buddhist society or, any kind of representative of Buddhism. This is a Satanist. A big deal. She's a Satanist or a New Age person or perhaps a Wiccan, perhaps just does witchcraft. And believes in demons and thinks that, does spirit. Now, as for this is where it gets weird, like, seriously, because, like, she generally just does sort of just, she does just yoga while in a magic circle. I mean, it's so weird, but, like, this got me down the rabbit hole with this person. Like, yeah, absolutely. No, I'm with you. Like, Cyberwitch. It does sound like a 90s cartoon character, Saturday morning cartoon character. Cyberwitch. So she just does this kind of thing, and it's going down. Like, it's actually quite fascinating, and it's really, really funny because I don't think that she's the evil force that he's thinks that she is. She's just like doing her own woo. And quite frankly, I felt sympathy for her for being used as the spokesperson for what mantras are for some reason. But it kind of my sympathy for her really took a nosedive when I heard her particular woo kind of thing.
Life working as a professional witch here in New Orleans. So if that sounds good to you, please be sure.
Yeah, she's from New Orleans because of course she is. Of course she is. That's that's all good.
To hit like and subscribe to my channel. Today, we are taking a deep dive into the energy of incubus and succubus spirits and how you can know if you have this type of spirits around you in your energy, in your space, or through various means.
Yeah, I gotta know, is there an incubus anywhere in my house? I've got to know because quite frankly, it's not doing very much heavy lifting.
This is a question that a lot of people contact me for help with in my spiritual coaching that I offer. Or I also have people contact me because someone else may have conjured a succubus spirit for them and they're not experiencing anything and they need help. There's all kinds of situations that have been coming up recently. So I decided, let's go ahead and make this video. So as most of you probably know, the succubus spirits are one of my personal specialties. I have developed a
what are the other specialties out there? Like the succubus is her specialty. What other specialties are out? Like, do we get a monster manual? Do we find like I just want to know, like, if I need a spirit to find my car keys, is there a spirit? If I need a spirit to make me a more influential YouTuber, is there a spirit for that? I don't know. Maybe there is. Whose speciality is that? Whose speciality is the spirit associated with regular bowel movements? Whose speciality is that? Like who specializes in the crap demon? I want to know. I got to know. Like who specializes in the spirit that helps you with your IBS? Like I have way too much flatulence. I need a spirit for this.
Developed a unique special formula for how I conjure these spirits, working with a lot of extremely powerful demons and my experience in ceremonial magic for over 17 years. So it's something that I am very confident in, and it is something that I am happy to give you some advice on. Now, when I first started working with the incubus and succubus spirits, it happened by chance, by accident, really. And it wasn't something that I had intentionally sought out to do. I was working with a few different spirits, and those situations turned into romantic situations between me and those spirits. And so,
yeah, yeah, okay. Look, I think my sympathy evaporates when you start to talk about like having sex with spirits. I don't. The fact that she's charging money for this bullshit. And it is bullshit. Like, seriously, there isn't any succubus or incubus spirits. Like, seriously, you want to get freaky and yeah, exactly, Peter Guns, totally. You want to get freaky with the spirits? That's cool, but don't charge people money to convince them of the same thing. Like, seriously.
yes. And so that, of course, is one of the signs that you might first notice where a spirit doesn't necessarily have to be labeled an incubus or succubus spirit. Spirits can fall in love with you and have intimate times with you. So that's a huge aspect of it. And then that falls under this category of, am I experiencing love from the spirit? Is the spirit trying to have a romantic relationship with me? Is the spirit?
No, the spirits are not trying to have a romantic relationship with you. It's you having a romantic relationship with yourself, which is fine. There's no problem with that. Like, I mean, I don't want to be denigrating, and if you want to believe that, that's cool, but there's no such thing as spirits. They don't exist. It's in your own head. And part of me says, well, you're disenfranchising yourself, because it is all you that has done all this stuff in yourself. Like you have been the person doing all of this for yourself. You're disempowering yourself and giving it to some spiritual realm that you don't need. There's nothing, like, all of this can be a placebo. Like, if you think spirits are making you confident and sexy and all of these things, that can come across to people. And it's kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy. But you don't need that spirit. You can just do it yourself.
Is the spirit coming into my intimate situations with other people and participating along with us, for example. So all of those things can happen. Now, a lot of people will just start having the phenomenon of attracting these spirits to them. And like I mentioned in other videos, there are so many
Do
different...
the spirits bring toys is what I want to know. Do the spirits bring their own toys, or do you have to supply the toys for the spirits if they want them? This is kind of... Yeah, look, I don't want to be too harsh on her, but, she charges for this kind of stuff, and it's just bullshit. It is just total bullshit. But this is the spokesperson for what mantras are to Ray Comfort. Like, why is this person the spokesperson for someone with 25K subscribers? Not small, but not huge. Why is that person the spokesperson for Ray Comfort's idea of a mantra? It's because she fits what he is looking for. He is looking to prove that Buddhism, meditation, mantras are all demonic, and she's saying what he wants to hear, right? What he wants. So he cherry picks one person that says, "Oh yes, these are demonic," and that agrees with him. Your average Buddhist would never say, "Hey, mantras summon spirits, or they've something to do with, contacting any deity." No, that's not what a mantra is for. And thank you so much to our hooligan. So glad you're here, mate, for $2 Canadian. I hit the like button. What did you guys do today? I just got up, but I'm doing a stream. Please forgive me. I'm still tired. I will do more today. Please forgive me. But yeah, hit the like button. It really does help me out.
Many different kinds of incubus and succubus spirits. So you really need to figure out what that spirit is to know how to handle them and
know how to handle them. Hey, it's a cheap joke. It's just sitting there. It's a cheap joke, and I'm not above it. I'm not above it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I am not above it. You got to know how to handle your spirit.
And if you want to go further with the spirit, or if it's something that could be potentially dangerous to you, you've really got to know the full tea of what's going on in that situation. And that's something that you can figure out by developing your abilities in psychic communication with spirits, in your abilities of spirit conjuring. You could even contact other spirits that you work with to ask them for advice.
Okay, so there's no problem with understanding yourself, understanding your sexuality, examining, getting to know yourself, getting to know what you like, what you dislike, all of that kind of stuff. That self-awareness of who you are and what you're doing is very useful. But you don't need to blame spirits for it and say, "Oh, I've got an incubus spirit that's doing this stuff." It's not necessary, and it can be sort of misleading. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. This is the thing. I don't think it's necessarily, well, because you're contacting spirits, you're being corrupted and stuff. No, I think that it's just like meditation is a technique to clear your mind and rise above sort of the things that are troubling you. Remove yourself from the problems by sort of disassociating with the sort of mundane world and more, get a distance between it. totally understand that. It's not spiritual in that sense. It's not calling on some spirit to do it. I think that this is perfectly fine, but we don't need spirits for that. We don't need demons for that. We don't need to call and summon things for that. You can just do it by yourself. And I feel like, you know, I feel like this is too much emphasis placed upon, oh, well, I've got special powers. I'm a special person. I've got a special insight into sexuality that I can share with you for $5.99 an hour. Yeah, it's tacky. It's bad. I just don't like it. But on the whole, I mean, she's relatively innocuous. She's a believer in New Age spiritualism. She gives names to spirits that can help you in sexuality, just like there's spirits that can help you in love and money and things like that. It's pretty innocuous, but that's not what Ray thinks. That's not what Ray thinks, of course.
Listen to the Bible identify those false gods. The things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to demons and not to God.
Yeah, so, feel guilty. Bible. Why should we care about this kind of thing? The funny thing is that all throughout the Bible, they're sacrificing. They're sacrificing all the time. They're sacrificing animals. They're sacrificing foreskins. They're sacrificing, like Jesus was a sacrifice. It is so, when we think about sacrifice to a god and what would make an evil god and what would make a good god, if you're talking about sacrificing, so let's sort of, as an internal critique, you have the perfect human who's so good and so righteous, and you are sacrificing them to save everything else. That's a blood sacrifice to what would be an evil god. Like, I don't see how you could say that a God demanding the sacrifice of the best human would be a good God. I just don't see how that's possible.
God. How can Hinduism forgive sins? They can't.
I didn't say anything about forgiving sin. I'm saying, do you want to go to a new realm, a new state?
Okay, so he's talking about nirvana here, right? Which is a very, very central core tenet of Buddhism. Basically, when you become perfect in your mind and in your spirituality, you achieve a state of nirvana. So he's sort of saying, oh, don't you want your sins forgiven? And you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Matrix, when he's like, are you saying that I'll be able to dodge bullets? And it's like, when you're ready, you won't need to. And it's kind of like that. He's saying, don't you want to be forgiven for your sins? And this guy, Kevin's coming back with, well, when you're in a state of nirvana, there is no sin to forgive. He's sort of telling Ray this. And I understand that. I've heard this conversation with Buddhists before, that it's kind of this, well, don't you want to be forgiven for your sin? Once you reach nirvana, there is no sin. But Ray is coming from a perspective, and you hear it from his questions. Have you ever lied? Have you ever cheated? Well, that makes you a liar. That makes you a cheater. We're all disgusting, horrible, evil people kind of thing. And that's why I'm not going too harsh. And I sort of say that the cyber witch is relatively innocuous. At least the cyber witch isn't saying, you're horrible, you're evil, you're sinful, you're nasty, you're degenerate, and you need God to save you, or you need to draw upon a spirit. No, at least she's encouraging healthy sexuality in a way that is productive. Ray's just sort of going, well, you're evil and horrible and nasty, you need what I've got. Come and get it. No. But I've heard this conversation with Buddhists before, and it's kind of like, Ray has this idea of the perfect human, as well as Buddhists. They both do. One says nirvana, the other says Jesus. Ray says you can never become Jesus. That's out of your reach. You'll never get up to there. You need Jesus to die to forgive you, and you better be grateful for that because you're a disgusting, evil person. Whereas Buddhists say, hey, everyone can reach nirvana if they dedicate themselves to, you know, this self-improvement. So one of these systems is way better than the other for human flourishing, because if there's one thing I would like to say, it's that Christianity is kind of detrimental to human flourishing. The real fundamentalist Christians don't believe in human flourishing. They think that we're worthless, horrible, evil, terrible people, and it's only through the grace of God that you can actually become, I was about to say perfect, but no, bearable to God, basically. It's a really, really horrible idea. But, you know, this is what I've heard from Buddhists before. And so it's why I'm not particularly critical of Buddhism while I am of Christianity, especially fundamentalist Christians. Not that all Christians think the same thing. You know, I'm not going to lump them all. It's more just the fundamentalists like Ray Comfort, who are like, you're terrible, you're horrible, you're evil, you're wicked, you're, you know, all of these things.
Okay.
Omniscient.
So let's go back to
right. So reach nirvana, and he's saying you're omniscient. You know everything, which I don't believe happens, but you know, it's just this man is saying what his beliefs are, which is fine. You know, that's perfectly fine.
Let's go back to the 10 Commandments, Kevin. Have you ever stolen something?
Why are we going back to the 10 Commandments? Like, why? If he doesn't believe in the 10 Commandments, what the hell does it matter? Why should he care about the 10 Commandments? And this is the, you know, the frustrating thing about Ray is he assumes, and he said this before, he thinks that you already know and agree with him. You're just suppressing the truth in your unrighteousness. That's the annoying thing about this little guy. He will say, well, you believe this already. And he will tell people what they believe. And that's the problem. He's not listening to this guy and, well, what do you mean? Like, how do you become omniscient? How do you become this state of sinlessness? Right? He's not listening to him. He's telling him.
Have you ever stolen something in your whole life, even if it's small?
I'm not Kevin. I'm Cord. I'm not Kevin anymore. You understand?
What does that mean?
Okay, so what he says, I'm not Kevin, I'm Cord. And you hear the creepy music start, right? This is a mainstay of sort of, you know, the manipulation that this man does. Okay, so you hear the music start. I'm not Kevin, I'm Cord. Now, oh, yeah, totally. Oh, Peter, absolutely. Yeah, no, he's absolutely more tolerable than Kent Hovind. But Ray Comfort, every time I'm sort of roaming around and I see one of his things, when I watch it, I really see how manipulative it is. Like, every single time I am like, wow, this is designed to manipulate his audience. And that's what I really want to point out. It is manipulation of his audience. And I want people to understand that. So in a way, he's worse, because Kent Hovind's very obvious in what he's doing. Ray's still pretty obvious, but he's more subtle. You know, like, he is more subtle. And the emotional manipulation that Ray does. Kent strawmans, and he's really frustrating, and he's worse in that respect. But Ray Comfort, the way that he tries to manipulate people is pretty egregious, in my opinion. So I think Kent is more frustrating, but Ray really, I think you need to take another look at all of the sort of underlying things he puts in there to manipulate his audience to think that this man is demon possessed. So what does he mean by Cord? Because Ray thinks it's a demon saying his name.
What does that mean?
I have never stolen anything.
So you're not Kevin anymore. What do I call you then if you're not Kevin?
Cord.
Cord?
Cord.
Have you ever used God's name in vain?
Yes.
Yeah, that's called blasphemy, using God's holy name as a cuss word. One to go.
Okay, so when he says I'm Cord, Kor in Buddhism is it's a word that means luminosity, right? So Kor, K-O-R, it sort of means to be luminous, to be sort of to be in a place of light. So he's sort of saying he's cord, right? He is core, which sort of, it doesn't mean what Ray thinks it means, right? It doesn't mean what he thinks it is. So he thinks it's a demon giving his name, but really, in essence, what he's saying is he's enlightened. He's past that. He's enlightened, is what he's saying. He is cord, right? It's not what Ray thinks it is, but he doesn't check into anything and he doesn't ask what he means. He just moves onwards, and then he sets up his videos so, oh, this is a demon giving his name, and then says, you know, have you ever taken the Lord's name in vain? Why should I care? Like, that's your belief. Why would I care about that? Okay, that's horrifying. I don't think so, but we could be surprised. I don't know. Like, perhaps. I haven't seen all of this, so if it is, it's definitely at the end. Definitely at the end. I don't think so. I don't think so.
One to go, Kevin. Jesus said if you look at a woman and lust for her, you commit adultery with her in your heart. Have you ever looked at a woman with lust?
I, cord, have not looked at a woman and lusted.
So he's saying I cord, right? When I've reached enlightenment, I've never done that. So he thinks he's saying a name, and it's not a name. He's referring to something else.
Are you homosexual?
No, sir.
When'd you last look at pornography?
I was a teen.
Yeah, that's lust. That's committing adultery in your heart.
That's Kevin. I have not. I'm cord.
So on Judgment Day, God's going to see you as a lying, blasphemous adulterer at heart. So on
Yeah, so this is the sort of thing that Ray does. You know, have you looked at people with lust in your heart? When's the last time you looked at porn? That's blasphemy. Well, no, I don't believe in the same things you do. But you've got to understand that Ray thinks you do. He thinks that you know this deep down, so he's going to say it anyway. That's one of the frustrating things about him.
So on Judgment Day, you're going to be innocent or guilty of breaking those commandments.
I'm innocent.
Why?
I just told you.
Why?
He just told you he's enlightened. But you're stupid, Ray, and you don't understand that when he says I am cord, as in I have reached a state of core, which is luminescence or light, you think it's somebody's name because you're stupid and don't ask him what it means. That's the problem. He doesn't leave his own head. That's Ray's problem. So everything that he's saying, Ray is seeing it through the lens of what he already believes and doesn't actually ask him what he means by it. He's saying that he's enlightened. That's all. He's not saying, hey, cord is my demon name. No, that's not what he's saying. But, you know, Ray is incredibly dumb and all incredibly deceptive.
Why?
My God is ever present, and he weeps when I have to go through hardship.
The Bible tells us that when Jesus was attacked by Satan,
Sure, you know, Buddha weeps. Okay, but this is the problem. Ray has an idea that everybody thinks the same way that he does, and there's almost nothing more annoying than something like that. Almost nothing as annoying as that.
attacked by Satan, he quoted the word of God. Then Jesus said to him, away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve. Nothing makes demons flee quicker than quoting the word of God.
That's my God. I don't know who.
Nothing makes demons flee quicker than quoting the word of God. Is that why he left, Ray? He left because you quoted God?
Who yours is.
Remember the first of the 10 Commandments?
Hey, I'm going to leave because you keep asking me the same question.
Yeah, here's the first of the 10 Commandments. Don't create your own God.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Ray, he seems to believe, and this is the stupid thing, right? Ray seems to believe he left because he started quoting the Bible at him. And he's setting it up like, oh, I quoted the Bible at him and the demon left. Like an idiot. No, Ray, you're insanely annoying and you keep asking the same things over and over. That's why he left. It's because you're a frustrating little twat, not because in some spiritual way you use the Bible to drive a demon out. That isn't what happened here. But Ray genuinely believes, or appears to genuinely believe, that he used the Bible in order to make the demon leave, because once he starts quoting the Bible, the demon leaves. How deluded do you have to be an absolutely annoying twat to somebody on the street, and they turn around and go, well, you keep saying the same stuff over and over, I'm going. And then you go, look, I drove the demon out. How deluded do you have to be? So again, Ray is either insanely dishonest or insanely stupid. One of the two.
Keep watching this video until the end, because you're not only going to find out what happened to this dear Buddhist lady, but you're going to hear what happened to an atheist. He believed in evolution and was banking everything on the Bible not being true. He sought me out to tell me some good news. You're going to be encouraged as I was. Have you ever heard the Bible verse, the wages of sin is death?
No.
It's very famous. Have you heard it?
Yes.
Saying that God is paying you in death for your sins. Like a judge who looks at a criminal.
Yeah, I think that the rest of it is just sort of Ray going through. That was a really short one. I do apologize. I will yeah, but the problem is really what I wanted to share with you was the delusion of Ray Comfort, thinking he has driven a demon out. And sort of he's just been a complete arsehole to him, you know. I don't know. Sydney was talking about one where he asked somebody if he wanks, which is just hilarious. I'd love to hear what that is if you've got the name of it. I expected this to go on for a little bit longer. Yeah, what's Ray's search history? That's a good question. That's a very good question. Probably nothing good. You know, I would like to see Ray's browser history. Absolutely. Give me 1 second. I can't believe this video has over like 600,000 views. It's insane. I might do another one because I didn't realize this was so short. Give me a second. This one's from a month ago. I'll pull this one up. Hey. Sorry, doing this on the fly a little bit, but that's okay. It's all right. It's okay. Hello, Left Hand Jedi. Good to see you.
I don't. No.
Why not?
Because I have done a lot of studying and a lot of research.
So you like science and evidence?
Yeah, you've done a lot of studying and a lot of evidence, and you probably read the Bible. And the quickest way to disbelieve the Bible is to read the damn thing. It's nuts. It really, like, it's unbelievable, as in you will not believe it. It's incredible that the more that Christians know about the Bible, either the more mental gymnastics they do when you talk to them about it, or the more they kind of say that, hey, it's a metaphor. It sort of, you know, the fundamentalists haven't really read the Bible. Only certain ones that you suspect that they may be doing it for the money. Whoops.
Monstrosity of evil. Search.
So you like science and evidence?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to give you some science and evidence to prove God's existence.
All right, let's hear it. and I've not seen anything that.
Yeah, I want to hear that too, Ray. Where's the science and evidence to prove the Bible or that God exists? Like, where's the science and evidence? I really want to know. I'm enraptured. I just pulled this up randomly, but now I'm interested. Science and evidence, go, Ray.
It has proven to me that there's a God.
Who made your hat?
Whoever makes hats.
Yeah, hat couldn't have made itself, could it?
Correct.
It'd be crazy to think hat made itself.
That's correct.
Everything made had a maker.
I see where you're going with this.
It's quite simple.
It's
Everything made has a maker. Okay, so first off, you're begging the question, how do you know that the universe was made? It's kind of a circular argument. The universe was made, so we know it has a maker, and it has a maker because we know it was made. It's sort of this, yeah, absolutely. Look at the trees. Look at the trees, left-hand. Yeah, look at the trees. And this is the sort of apologetics that, you wouldn't try on in a debate. A hat needs a maker, therefore the universe needs a maker. Yes, but a hat and the universe are not the same thing.
Simple.
It's quite simple, but I don't believe that's the case.
Why not?
I'm much more a believer in a scientific approach, something like the Big Bang, where
The hat analogy is a scientific approach.
The hat analogy, okay, the hat analogy is a scientific approach. No, that isn't science, Ray. That's not even close to science. That isn't even in the ballpark of science, Ray. What does Ray think science is? Is Ray like Hovind, who thinks science is knowledge? It's an analogy. It's an analogy, and it doesn't even work as an analogy because we know that hats have hat makers. We know that because that is how we know hats to come about. You're assuming that there is a maker to the universe, but we don't know. Like if you say, hey, assume we don't know how the universe came about. To say it has a maker, you have to demonstrate that first. Ugh.
Approach. It's the hat had to have a maker because it's designed for your head.
Right, but I can go back and I can trace this hat back and find out who made it, who put it together, what factory it was built at, who built the factory, to find out where this hat was made. I can't find that out about the universe.
Of course you can. Let me give you the information.
Sure.
The Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There's your facts.
The Bible,
There's your facts. Those are not facts. Facts are facts are observations independent of any interpretation. That relies on the interpretation that the Bible is inerrant and correct about. That is not a fact. That is not a fact. I don't know about that one, Chief. I know that is not a fact. That's a claim, is what that is. That's a claim of where the universe came from. That's not a fact. No. Bad Ray. Bad Ray.
Bible, that is not a fact.
Is the hat maker.
That
is correct. That is not a fact.
Not a fact.
So you're an atheist?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Tim, do you really believe the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything?
Oh, nice straw man. Nice straw man right out of the gate.
That there was nothing in the beginning, but nothing created flowers and birds, the sun, the moon, the stars, the seasons, puppies, kittens.
I believe that they all randomly occurred. So for you to say that it was all created by a god is just as plausible as me saying it was all just randomly created.
That's true. That's true. It's just as plausible. Absolutely. I'm not sure about randomly created. I think randomness, I was having a discussion about whether randomness is actually something that can exist. It's sort of the natural laws of the universe gave rise to those things. And I mean, speaking colloquially, yeah, random. It's very, I have a lot of thinking to do about that, whether true randomness in fact exists. But, arising from natural causality is perfectly fine as well. And it's just, in fact, it's more plausible because under Occam's razor, you're not multiplying entities. Because we could say, hey, this world has natural laws and natural forces, and there was a god behind it, or it just has natural laws and natural forces. One of those is a lot simpler than the other, and it's the one without the extra god on the end of it. That those things just arose through natural means. So it's actually more plausible.
Created.
You can't even use the word created if you're an atheist.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't. It means there's a creator. If it was a
Yeah, I think he's taking, like, so this is Ray's thing. He's now taking a very literal meaning, and it's why when we're doing counter apologetics as an atheist, you might say, or how the universe formed rather than created. But it's really just semantics, right? So when you say, oh, this was created, it might just be my natural. It's just semantics. Ray's just doing word trickery, basically. Oh, you can't say created because it has to have a God. It has to have a creator to be created. He's using that in a more liberal sense of the origins of something, how it formed, rather than created by a specific deity. So this is just Ray being word trickery. It's nothing but word trickery.
If it was a creation.
Not exactly true.
Could it be that you've been doing things in your life that you know God would morally frown upon them? That's why you deny his existence? Could that be right?
No.
That's what Ray thinks. That's what honestly Ray thinks. He thinks that you already believe in God and you're just denying it to yourself because you want to sin. That's why. And so that's why so many people get sick of the man, because he angles towards this, well, I know you know. I know you know. You're just trying to, live in your sin with et cetera, et cetera. It's very, very frustrating to be told what you think and what you know, and he'll do it all the time. And not only that, he's very deceptive in the way that he tries to get people to admit it when they honestly don't believe that. And this gentleman, obviously, he does not believe that.
No.
Fantastic book. I love 2 Corinthians. I love Nehemiah. It's a great book. He built a huge wall.
Oh, every building is proof of a builder, even though you can't see the builder.
Oh, that's great. He's doing a Trump impression for Ray Comfort. Oh, that's fantastic.
Could have died years ago. You know there was a builder because of the building. Every painting is proof of the painter. Painter could have died 500 years ago, but you know there was a painter because the painting exists. Paintings don't paint themselves. And creation is evidence of God's...
Yeah, and so creations don't create themselves. Yeah, no, we know the shtick, Ray. It's just you've got to demonstrate this is a creation first. You can't beg the question. You can't assume that this is a creation and then just go, well, it needs a creator if it's a creation. It's just more word games. It's just word games. And he is presupposing that a God created the presupposed creation, or rather he is presupposing its creation and then just inserting a God there.
Evidence of God's creative hand. Creation cannot create itself. Utterly impossible.
There are possibly things that we don't know yet that we're still exploring, right? So
we've got a problem. Yes, sir.
Ray Comfort, you're a false prophet.
Okay.
Way of the Master. Hold on a second. Let me say it. The way of the Master is a false gospel.
Oh, I love this. Another Christian comes in to tell him off. Tell him off for being a false prophet. It's just so good. Like, seriously, what are you doing?
Because it's condemnation. Look it up. Yeah. You already know, because you know the people. Hold on. You know the people that said the same thing. They've exposed it. So you're preaching a false gospel, because Jesus never did that. He never walked up to people because you're saying that he did it like that.
Are you saying Jesus never walked up to the people on the street in Judea with a microphone? Is that what you're saying? Oh, look, my world's crumbling now. Jesus never did man on the street interviews. My world is crumbling.
Like that, but
that's 10 verse 17.
Hold on. That's not how Jesus did it.
Well, thanks for your thoughts. I'm going to carry on with my friend here. Okay. Thank you. Well, thanks for your patience with that.
Ray, no worries.
We're talking about what an atheist believes. An atheist believes the scientific impossibility that nothing created everything. That's what an atheist believes. Either there was a creator or everything happened by chance.
No, that's not what an atheist believes. Like, this is a straw man. This is just a big fat straw man. Like, they believe, and the words that he's loading into this, the scientific impossibility, that Ray wouldn't know science if it bit him hard on the ass. He really wouldn't. And sort of this was set up as, oh, well, I've got scientific evidence for creation. Well, present it.
By chance, or nothing made it. All those things we talked about before. Did you ever read the Bible?
I have read a good portion of the Bible. I grew up Christian, Presbyterian, until I was like 16 years old.
Were you born again?
just born the once.
Okay, you got to be born twice. John chapter 3, Jesus said that. You got to be born a second time. That's when you come to know the Lord and find everlasting life. So let's go from your intellect to your conscience. Can you handle that?
I'll give it a try.
Okay, this is what that guy was talking about.
So you're preaching a false gospel because Jesus never did that. That's not how Jesus did it.
So let's go to the scriptures and see how Jesus did it. Mark 10, verse 17.
Yeah, let's not see how Jesus did it, because really, I don't really care. It's just hilarious that someone comes up to him. And then here's the thing. That guy that interrupted him, he's only doing what you do, Ray. He's doing exactly what you do. You go up to people on the street and you interrupt them on the street from whatever they're doing and you quiz them about. Like, he's not doing anything different than you. This is hilarious.
Person.
I'm going to put that to the test.
All right.
I'm going to do what Jesus did in Mark 10, verse 17. I'm going to give you the 10 commandments to judge yourself with. I'm not judging you. This is for you to judge yourself.
Sure.
How many lies have you told in your life?
Oh, many. Have you told no lies?
Hang on, you got to ask that question again because it's a negative on a positive.
Okay.
Have you told no lies? That's what's wrong with that question? There's nothing wrong with that question, Ray. It's a negative on a positive, yes. I don't understand the problem with that question. So if you have told no lies, then you haven't told a lie. So if the answer is yes, I don't, that's not a problem. Like, wow.
Okay.
Have you told no lies? How am I supposed to answer that?
Have you told lies before?
Yes, of course.
All right.
Have
Okay.
you ever stolen something, even if it's small?
No.
Ever used God's name in vain?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, why would you do that if you're an atheist? Why would you use God's name as a cuss word? And the Bible says we're in a state of hostility towards God. Did you know that? The Bible says we're hostile towards God.
No.
In the same way criminals are hostile towards the police.
Yeah, I don't really care what the Bible says at all. Don't really care what the Bible says. You've got to demonstrate that this book has some sort of truth in it, that it describes things accurately. And there's nothing in it that we need to take as, this facts as you claim they are. Show that it's actually factual, because everybody's got a holy book. The Buddhist from the last video has a holy book. The Hindus have the Bhagavad Gita, and that is way more ancient than the Old Testament that you're referring to.
The police. So it's called blasphemy.
It's just a word.
Yeah,
It's just a word.
And that's what it means to take it in vain, to give it no due honor. Just a word. Do you love your mum?
Sure.
Would you ever use her name as a cuss word? It would show disrespect. But you've taken the holy name of God, the one who gave you a mother and gave you life, and used it as a cuss word. Very serious. It's called blasphemy. Do you still think you're a good person?
Oh, evidently I'm a lying, thieving blasphemer now.
Once ago, Jesus said, if you look at a woman and lust for her, you commit adultery with
Yeah,
her.
and this is Ray shtick. It's the fallacy of black and white. Just because you've looked at someone with lust doesn't make you a lustful person. That's not how we use those terms. And a lot of it is Ray doing word trickery. I've also been a chaste person. I've walked away from stuff. Does that make me chaste in all circumstances? No. We don't use language like this. We don't say, hey, if you've told a lie, that makes you a liar. That's not how we use the language, any more than if you tell the truth, that makes you not a liar or a truth teller. Like, we don't use words like that. This adjective of liar, normatively, it's referred to somebody that has a preponderance to lie, that lies often. It's not just, have you ever told a lie in your life? Oh, well, you're a liar then. It doesn't mean that. Even something like, you're a cheater, you cheat in your relationship. We only apply that if you're currently cheating on your relationship now. If you've done it, it's this whole thing of, well, if I can apply this label to you once, I can apply it across the board. And that's not how it works.
With her in your heart. Have you ever looked at a woman with lust?
Of course, I'm a man. I look at lots of women with lust.
Have you had sex before marriage?
I have had tons of sex before marriage.
So here's
Good on you, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Tell them how much. Yeah. Tell them your business. Absolutely.
Tim, you've told me you're a liar, a blasphemer, a fornicator, and an adulterer at heart.
Only under your view. That's the thing. Like, why should I care what your view is? Why should I care? Because I don't think it's real. That's the thing. Because you've got to understand that Ray thinks this guy believes the same thing he does. He's just suppressing it in some way. But that's not the case. He honestly does not believe in what Ray believes, and he does not think that there's any problem with that. Any more than, have you eaten a cow, Ray? Well, then, under Hinduism, you've committed an unholy act. You're going to have, be tortured by Shiva the Destroyer, or one of the more unsavory gods of Kali will come for your heart, kind of thing. Why should you care if you don't believe in Hinduism? You don't.
At heart, and you're self-righteous and saying you're a good person when you're not. You're like the rest of us. So if God judges you,
you're not a good person. Like, just because the guy has had sex, like, his idea is everyone is complete trash. That's what Ray's thing is. Everyone's trash. I mean, it probably makes him feel better about the really crappy things he does to people, but it's such a destructive way at looking at people. Oh, you've lied once. You're an absolute. You deserve to be tortured, and you're an evil person. No. That's no basis for a moral system.
God judges you by the 10 commandments. We've looked at 4. On Judgment Day, you're going to be innocent or guilty.
I would be guilty, I imagine. Yeah.
You ever heard the Bible verse, the wages of sin is death? From the book of Romans, it's saying God is paying you in death for your sins. Like a judge who looks at a criminal who thinks he's a good person, but he's a murderer. The judge says, I'm going to show you how serious your crime is. I'm giving you the death sentence. This is your wages.
Yeah, and this is Ray's other technique. He basically fills the air with just talking. And he says the same things over and over. I don't know who watches these because they're all the fucking same. They're all the same. It's just Ray saying, oh, you're aware the wages of sin are death. And does the other person get any chance to have any kind of interaction? No. They just have to listen to this guy talk endlessly.
Your wages. This is what you've earned. And sin is so serious to a holy God, he's given you the death sentence. You're on death row, and your death will be evidence to you that God is deadly serious about sin.
So he's not talking to this guy, he's talking at this guy, and there's a big difference. And, this is the kind of stuff that he clips out and says, oh, he had no response for me. No, you just didn't shut up, Ray. You just constantly talk. And it's a tactic that we see from other people. People have taken this tactic and they take it into, I've seen it in Discord rooms, I've even seen it in debates, where they basically just keep talking so the other person can't say anything. It's sort of a gish gallop, but I mean, he's not in a debate, so I wouldn't say that, but it's a case of talking at the other person, not talking to him.
Yes, about sin. So if you're guilty on Judgment Day, would you go to heaven or hell?
What's wrong with having sex with a beautiful woman? What's wrong? I mean, that's just life. It happened all throughout the Bible, I'm not going to feel sorry about that.
Do you know what you're trying to do?
Why don't you tell him what he's trying to do, Ray? Why don't you tell him what he believes, what he knows, what he's doing? This is what makes Ray so irritating. Do you know what you're doing right now?
Try and justify yourself.
Sure.
And you can't. You're guilty like the rest of us. And if you
you can't justify yourself. Yeah, you're a twat, Ray. You're an absolute twat.
Sins you go to hell. That horrifies me. It breaks my heart. I love you. Oh, I don't want you to go to hell. So here's the question.
All right.
What did God do for guilty sinners so we wouldn't have to go to hell?
Are you talking about bringing his only begotten son into the world, Jesus Christ?
Most people know that, Brent, but they don't know this. The 10 Commandments are called the moral law. You and I broke the law. Jesus paid the fine. That's what happened on that cross. That's why he said, it is finished, just before he died. He was saying paid in full. If you're in court and you've got speeding fines.
And he always says these analogies, which are so tired. They're so tired. They're absolutely terrible. Like, they're terrible analogies. If you're in court and you got a speeding fine and someone pays your ticket, then you've got off the hook. Great. Well, I'm off the hook. Someone's paid my ticket. Oh, but you got to believe in him. No. You don't have to believe in a person. Like, you don't have to believe they paid your ticket in order to get out of the ticket. This is why his analogy fails, because he thinks that you owe something to Jesus for paying your ticket. I never asked him to. I never wanted him to. I don't owe him jack crap. In your analogy, I don't believe that Jesus did anything for anybody. But, in your analogy, it doesn't work, because you're saying, hey, you need to worship and believe and do all of that. No, I don't. Because in your analogy, if someone pays the ticket, they've paid the ticket. I don't need to do anything for them. That's on them. So his own analogy doesn't work. And I mean, it's a terrible analogy anyway, but it doesn't work.
Fines and somebody else pays them, a judge will let you go, even though you're guilty. So you're out of here, even though you're guilty, you can leave because someone paid your fine and it's legal. Well, God can legally take death off you, all because of what Jesus did on that cross.
Well, if he's paid the fine, then he already should have. Why do I need to believe that a person paid my fine in order to be relieved of the fine? Why do I need to worship the person that paid my ticket fine? I don't need to. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Like, so his own analogy fails because, spoiler alert, paying somebody's ticket and, sacrificing yourself to relieve the sins of humanity are not the same thing. And Ray's just trying to make a really crappy analogy.
Did on that cross through his death and resurrection.
And plus, the state can just forgive the fine. The state can just say, hey, you're really poor. Let's forgive that fine. There's not a state can pardon that fine or nullify the fine, just void the fine. It's not a problem. It's not like the in his thing the judge has to say, well, somebody has to pay this fine. No, they can. The state can relieve somebody of that obligation without a problem. Like, just say they're insanely poor, and the state goes, well, let's just forgive the fine. They can do that. So why can't God?
And all you have to do to find everlasting life, according to the Bible, is repent of your sins and trust in Jesus. Don't trust your goodness, but just trust in the
So
Savior.
why do you have to trust in the person that paid your fine? I don't know this person. They could be a complete prick for all I know. I don't know. Why is that necessary for the paying of the fine? Like, why do you have to trust in the person? Like, it makes no sense. Your own analogy falls apart. It makes no sense whatsoever. But, he loves his analogies that don't work for some reason. I don't know why. Ray's a weird duck.
Just trust in the Savior. Transfer your trust.
But notice through all of this, and I really want you to notice this, he hasn't let the guy talk, right? He's not talking to him. It's not a conversation. He is preaching at him while trying to make it seem like you're in a conversation with him. And this is what annoys people to the point of walking away. He's preaching at him. He's not talking to him.
Transfer your trust from yourself to the Savior. And the minute you do that, God will grant you everlasting life as a free gift, not because you're good, but because he's good and kind and rich in mercy. One more question for you.
You bet.
If you're going to jump out of a plane 10,000 feet, why would you put on a parachute?
Because you don't want to die, right?
Yeah, and your motivation is fear. And that fear is your friend. It's not your enemy, because it's making you put on a parachute. And because I love you, I've tried to put the fear of God in you today. I've tried to make you scared, hoping you'll see that fear as your friend.
And there it is. Ray's ultimate goal is to make people afraid. Not only because it gets him, it sort of put the fear of God in people to rescue them, as he says, but also because that what works for him in making money. He makes a ton of money off this. Does he give his money to the poor? No, he doesn't. He wants to make his audience scared, and he uses the most manipulative tactics to do it. And I'm sure in Ray's weird mind, he justifies it saying, oh, but it's to save people. You're still trying to manipulate them. And so who's dishonest here? The person who told, white lies when they were younger, or the person that's right now manipulating his audience to be scared? Who's the honest person here? Not Ray. And he does it with so many horrible tactics. Is that right? No, of course not.
That fear is your friend, not your enemy, because it'll make you serious with the God that gave you life. Man, I want to see you in heaven. I don't want to see you in hell.
Oh, God.
So please think.
Absolutely, Ray. Thank you. Yeah.
According to your beliefs, God created everything. He created the heavens and the earth. At some point, he created his son to come down here and die on the cross for our sins, therefore absolving us of all the sins if we
that's
believe.
bad theology. That's bad theology. He said at some
so this is the thing. When somebody actually has a discussion back, he cuts them off and he'll edit it. Like, I'm sure this guy had more to say, but he edits it.
point, God created his son to come down here. This is from gotquestions.org. The Bible teaches that Jesus was not created, but was rather the creator, and for him. Colossians 1 verse 16.
Created cancer that babies get. That means he also created all the diseases in the world that people get, all of the children that die, all of the Catholic priests that abuse children. He created all of that.
And he knew that was going to happen ahead of time and didn't change anything, right? He knew that the priests would do the horrible thing, that he knew that cancer would ravage people and cause untold suffering for humanity. And he didn't change it. He let it happen. In fact, that was his plan for it to happen.
Of that. Why would I want to put my belief in a God that allows that? And why would I want to spend eternity on my knees worshiping something that randomly kills children who did not deserve it? Your God is if it exists, is a horrible monstrosity of evil.
Now, if I had your bad theology, I'd be an atheist. That was a huge straw man.
What's the straw man? So God didn't create cancer? Cancer doesn't come from God. It comes from what?
All these things have happened because of sin. In the beginning,
cancer is caused by sin. Okay, Dr. Ray. Wow.
Created everything, and it was very good. In came sin, death, disease, pain, and suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't blame God for Catholic pedophiles. You're standing there as a lying, blasphemous, fornicating, adulterer at heart.
Okay, Ray, back the hell up, man. Like, seriously. Yeah, according to you, you're a lying, a blaspheming adulterer as well. This is the thing. Like, this is what Ray does. As soon as somebody makes a good point, he goes, well, I don't have to listen to you. You're a lying, do this. No, that's not how we use words. It's not like because he's lied once in his life that he's always a liar. This is sort of, using it's poisoning the well. It's basically saying, hey, don't trust what you're saying, because the source of it, the well of that information that you've said is bad. And he's poisoning that well.
Adulterer at heart, and pointing a holier-than-thou finger at the God of creation. That is the epitome of delusion.
No. What he's saying is, it is much more likely, like he's pointing out the problem of evil. It is much more likely that these things happen as a natural processes, that cancers are just a natural process, and nature is generally pretty brutal and nasty and short. As it's been described, then a all-loving God created everything, because that everything includes things that are not all-loving, that a loving being wouldn't create. That's all. That's the entire thing. That's the problem of evil. Look, if God is omniscient, omnipotent, and it doesn't you don't really need the omnipresent, but if he has those two qualities, right, then he has the power to do something about all the bad things that are happening, and he has the knowledge that they would happen in the first place before they happened. And if God created everything, he has to have created these bad things like volcanoes, earthquakes, cancers, viruses, all of this stuff. And you're saying, oh, but sin created that. Really? How did sin create that? If everything was created by God, then sin couldn't have created that. It must have been by God. And you can say, hey, the sin of Adam and Eve caused God to create it. But then you're just kicking the can down the road. You're saying, hey, it was justified that he created that. And that's fine. You can say that it was justified, but then you can't say your God is all good. Because if he punishes the transgressions of eating a fruit with millions of years of suffering, then that is not good under any description. Either that or it was good that he did that. And if it was good that he did that, then cancers are good and all of this stuff is good. You can't, that is irrational, saying God created everything except the bad things. The bad things weren't, then he didn't create everything.
Delusion of grandeur. Pull back a little and realize you're going to die, you're going to stand before God, and he's going to justly condemn you to hell. He takes no pleasure in the death of the wicked. We sinned, he took our punishment. We broke the law, he paid the fine. That means God can legally take death off you and let you live forever, all because of what Jesus did on the cross.
It's nothing to do with legally, because in your metaphor, legally, he can do that anyway. Like, there's no problem with that.
That's God's love for you and I. We're sinners, we're in rebellion, we hold our fists, we're at enmity with God, and then he takes no pleasure in our death. He wants to grant us everlasting life as a free gift. Man, look around you at the beauty of God's creation. He's given you flowers and birds and trees. The sun,
Look at the trees. Look at the trees. Look at the tree. No, demonstrate that that was actually made by a God. You can't assume it was made by a God, therefore it's evidence for that God. That's begging the question.
The sun, the moon, the stars. The joy of having sex with a woman within the confines of marriage.
The joy of having sex with... So outside the confines of marriage, it's just horrible. It's just horrible. It's the worst thing. Like, what are you talking about, Ray? Come on now.
All these things are gifts from God, and you've never thanked him. You've denied his existence. And
yeah. So this is the thing that Ray's doing. He's saying, yeah, you believe in them. You've never thanked him. You're an ingrate. You deny his existence, but you know he exists. Come on, mate. Nudge, nudge. Come on. You know he, because Ray will tell people what they believe.
And you've sealed the truth of the fact that we're in a state of hostility toward the God that gave us life. And I don't want you to end up in hell. That breaks my heart. You don't realize this, but I love you, man. I care about you.
Thank you. However, there's no judgment day. When I die, I'll just be dead. That's it. That's the end of things. You said I can't blame God for Catholic pedophiles and that children dying of cancer and all these horrible diseases are because of sin. And sin ultimately goes back to Adam and Eve, correct? Your God is all-knowing. He knew they were going to make that choice. He knew that sin was going to come into the world. He knew this all theoretically before he created the world. And he could have stopped it. He could have made sure that babies don't die. He could have made sure that Catholics don't become pedophiles in their church. But he didn't. That's evil. That's evil. That is the most horrible thing in the world.
You're an atheist. You can't say anything is evil.
Yeah, and this is the other go-to when you say, hey, that would be evil. We don't believe in the God. We're just saying hypothetically under this God explanation, that would be evil for a sentient creature to do. However, we don't believe this sentient creature actually exists. So we're not saying that God exists and he's evil. We're saying we don't believe he exists. And certainly not as the God you're describing, because that would be an evil God.
Anything is evil. How do you know something's evil?
If you would not want it done to yourself, it's evil. Would you want to get cancer? Would you want to die? Would you want a Catholic pedophile to take advantage of you? No.
Let's say someone says yes, then it's not evil. You see, you can't say anything is good or evil as an atheist. You have to look at the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, you can. You absolutely can. Absolutely. You can base it around simple human well-being. If it's not good for the well-being of a human, then it's evil. That's it. That's all you need is a sense of empathy. And the guy's right. Like, you know, if you wouldn't like it done to you, don't do it yourself. But that's the golden rule, and it predates Christianity by a long shot. Egyptians had it in the Book of the Dead. You know, there's no problem with that.
look at the 10 Commandments and say murder is wrong, lying, stealing is wrong.
The 10 Commandments are good, but they don't come from God. They come from what is right, what is inherently right, and what is inherently wrong. That's not an edict from God.
Well, why does it begin when you say the 10 Commandments are good? I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself a false God. Let me ask you a question. As an atheist, can you explain to me why every human being has upon his conscience the truth of those commandments? Every one of us know not to lie and steal, commit adultery.
No, they don't. They don't have the truth of those commandments. Not everybody knows not to lie, not to steal, etc., etc. And certainly not, don't forget the first one, thou shalt worship no other gods but me. Is that because a lot of people are worshiping a whole load of different gods, Ray? So that's obviously not written on their heart or in some way intrinsic to the human state. It is not, because that is not something that carries out, like, you know, again, people in the Hindu religion worship multiple gods. Polytheism exists. This whole idea is presupposing that this man believes what you believe already, and I don't know how you go through life thinking you know how somebody. And here's the thing, Ray talking to this guy about how his delusions of grandeur, while thinking that Ray knows better than the guy that he's talking to. It's insane. What about your delusions of grandeur, Ray? You think you know what people think better than they do.
Steal, commit adultery, fornicate, blaspheme.
It's inherently wrong to kill someone. But that is something that...
Well, funny that, because the 10 Commandments, when they sort of said, you know, thou shalt not kill, it was really thou shalt not kill other Jews. There was nothing saying that sort of like going to other tribes and killing them, there was necessarily anything wrong with that. It wasn't a blanket statement to thou shalt not kill at all. And we see that in the Bible where God commands them to kill people.
Something that parents teach children, is it not?
No, it's not.
Do you honestly believe that children wake up going, wow, I don't know what murder is yet, but I'm not going to do it because that seems bad?
Well, look at the stealing one. Kids will steal from one another. We have to teach them that it's not good to do. It is a learnt thing.
We have a man who's brought up with wolves. He goes to New York and he rapes a woman.
Mm-hmm.
He's in court and he says, Judge, I was brought up among wolves. I didn't know it was wrong to rape a woman. The judge says, you're going to jail, because the judge knows, even though he's brought up among wolves, he inherently knows right from wrong because of existence.
No, that's not what the judge says. It says where you are, that is a law. You're not in the jungle with the wolves anymore, wherever, you know, he got raised. You aren't with the wolves now. You are under the direction of the law. And the fact that he was raised by wolves and didn't know any better would probably be a large mitigating factor in his defense. Like, what is this analogy that he's doing? Because he's assuming that we're all underneath this law of gods. I don't know what Ray's problem is. Holy crap.
Because of the existence of his conscience. You're open to knowledge. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Bearing in mind that you're open to everything except the truth of the Bible, may I give you a book that I've written called Scientific Facts in the Bible? It shows you the Bible's filled with scientific facts written thousands of years before. Oh, I'm very surprised.
I'll give it a read.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
May I give you a book I've written called Scientific Facts in the Bible?
Sure. He wrote a book called Scientific Facts in the Bible. Oh, that's hilarious.
Thank you. Hey, good talk. You as well.
And I love the Bible, by the way. Did I tell you that's a great book? Fantastic book. I love 2 Corinthians. I love Nehemiah. It's a great book. He built a huge wall all around Jerusalem. And I love the story of, what is it? The book of David, I think it is, because he went to Camp David.
That's not a very good impression. Trump doesn't know anything about the Bible. Like he cannot, like he wouldn't sort of say, you know, Corinthians. He wouldn't know what that is. Trump would not know what that is. I mean, he professes to be like a fundamentalist Christian. He is not. He's got no idea anything about, and he's selling Bibles with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in it. It's yeah.
David, out of Saul's camp. Camp David's a great place. It's a terrific place. It really is. It's so beautiful here. It's a great beach. And I miss Huntington. I miss America. She's great. Fantastic.
Thank you, Ben. What's your website?
Oh, it's boughtwithaprice.com.au. I'm from Australia, so we have the
Yeah,
AU.
the Aussie. Nice work. Yeah, no, look, Ray comes from New Zealand. He's kind of from my neck of the woods. I feel responsible. Him and Ken Ham are my usual. Like, I don't know. It just, yeah.
You got to put there. It's like, hey, you, check it out.
Yeah. Okay. Nice impression, though. It was pretty funny. Although Trump would never know what the books of the Bible are. I got to say, he would never know that. So, yeah, but this is sort of just the reason why I wanted to do this, and I know it's Ray Comfort again, but I really wanted to juxtapose it against the earlier one that I did, and it's almost exactly the same. Finding a person, the sort of really the really dodgy way that he uses music to sort of sting emotions of what you should be feeling. The way that even the thumbnail both has chilling on it, sort of to sort of work up this idea that these people are demon possessed. And he said it outright in this one. There was a demon, which Cord was not the guy's demon name. Core in Buddhism is finding luminosity, enlightenment, finding sort of a purity, I guess, is what they're saying. So when he said, I am Cord, he's saying, I am pure. I became pure. Not that is my demon name, as Ray is suggesting. That's the whole idea. But just the similarities, the words that he says, he has the same script, he does the same things, and people eat it up. It's crazy. So, I really I really think that Ray, his mentality is evident, that he thinks that everyone thinks the same thing he does, and will tell you that. He will tell you what you believe, which is horrifying. And at some point, we've got to have a conversation about what we do about these presuppositionalists who are saying, no, you believe this. I know you believe this. And I know that so much that you agree with me, and you're just suppressing that you agree with. Like, how do you even engage with something like that? I have no idea. But yeah, that was Ray Comfort. I found the Cyber Witch pretty cool. She was pretty cool. I don't agree with her beliefs, but it's interesting between a satanic cyber witch or what Ray says is satanic. I'm not even sure if she is. I don't think she mentioned demons and spirits, but she didn't mention Satan. So maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Maybe she's just witchcraft. That's cool. The goth girl practicing witchcraft is so much less manipulative and so much more innocuous and so much sort of less harmful than Ray. Is just mind-blowing. It's just, these creationists, they are a bane on our existence. They're sort of their propensity to calling everyone around them garbage and not worth anything, and only has value if they do X, Y, and Z. This emotional extortion of people. It is one of the things that is absolutely reprehensible. There's nothing wrong with you. There's things we all got to work on. Sure, absolutely. There's things I got to work on. There's things everybody has to work on. Absolutely. But that doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't make you, as Ray says, lying, cheating, fornicating, et cetera, et cetera. Like, get out of here. Like, why listen to this man? I don't know. But incredibly popular. Over, 500,000 views on that video easily. So yeah. Pretty shocking, pretty horrible. But so if you're not doing anything on Sunday evening, definitely go over to Maya's channel, because it is awesome and has 1,000 times more weasel power than this channel. Absolutely. Give me 1 second. I'll just find it. There you are. But thank you for stopping by, Maya. I really appreciate it. There you go. So go over and subscribe. Maya's, how close are you, Maya? I really want to know. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed to Maya, please help her out and subscribe, because she's amazing and her own goddess, if you didn't know. So, yeah. But I want to thank everybody for coming. Ray irritates me, and I always do the things on this channel that irritate me, and he really does. And I really want to pick him apart. And people that go, "Oh, well, he's not too bad." Yes, he is that bad. Absolutely is that bad. The fact that he's not a hovened with his and the very loud probably makes him worse. The fact that he emotionally manipulates people probably makes him worse than Hovind on that level. Hovind's just an awful person that does awful things. I'm not sure if Ray's on that. But he's still bad, and it's because he does this emotional manipulation, and I find exception to that. But remove yourself from people that emotionally manipulate you. It's not cool. It's not cool. And definitely people that tell you what you think and sort of say, hey, this is what you actually think. But we don't know what anybody else thinks. In fact, in psychology, there's sort of there's a behavior called mind reading, where you basically project what you think people are thinking onto them. And it's a problem, because when you start to think, hey, everyone's looking at me, everyone thinks that I am, this thing, or my managers thinks I'm terrible at my job because they made this comment. We don't know that for sure. We don't know. And that's and the thing is, we would like to know. We would like to say, hey, I know what they're thinking. I know what, someone's thinking. And I guess I've found in my life that I have done that in the past, and I try not to, because I don't know what people are thinking. And as much as I try to read people and I try to get an understanding of what they mean and what they say, even that can be really flawed. So we don't know what people are thinking. Don't subscribe to that. Like, try not to assume what people think, because it's just, you're probably going to think the worst, and it's probably not going to be true. It's not really a rational way of going about things, but it's easier said than done. I totally get that. It's easier said than done. To say, hey, I'm not going to assume what people are thinking, is easier said than done. Certainly don't be like Ray and lean into, hey, I'm going to tell you what you think. No, terrible. But anyway, do be kind to yourself. Don't listen to Ray. You are not garbage, liar, etc., etc. You're a person doing your best. I'm sure you're doing your best. Everyone's trying their best. And that may be some terrible stuff, but yeah, everyone's trying their best. And try to be kind to others, because they're just doing their best as well. Until next time, I want to thank everybody for showing up. It's been a blast. I've had fun. I really enjoyed the Cyber Witch. I just love that name, the Cyber Witch. It's like an electro hippie. I just love something about it. You cast hexes over the internet kind of thing. I don't know. I just like it. It just appeals to me for some reason. But she was way better than Ray. Like, I don't agree with her. I think her beliefs are nonsense. She's still better than Ray. But thank you so much, everybody. Take care. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.